Hello tanks and tankettes, you join me on the physics test server. Now you've probably already seen the preview videos, and as a community contributor obviously I have seen them as well. I got to have a little early look at it all, but I decided I was going to hang on and actually wait to have a go on the test server, and that's where we are right now. So there are a limited selection of tanks, but one of them is the ELC, and that's the one I'm going to start off with. I have spent a little time already just in a training room with the circlings that you see now. This is Mawo and Tomka Z, and oh yeah, that's a house. And I've just been trying out the various different tanks available and a couple of the different maps, and I've assembled a couple of preliminary thoughts, and it really is just preliminary thoughts so far. But I'm going to start off with the fact that it actually feels pretty good. Now, the biggest change that most of you are going to notice is, and you've seen the videos, and you can see that everything. I mean, they were really trying to deliberately make things more slidey. But the biggest change is that the so-called stop and shoot key, which by default is bound to spacebar. Yes, that is now actually going to be fairly important, because that tumble though, that basically is now your handbrake, and you can do things like, oh, wrong key. You can do things like, if I can get the right key on the keyboard, like, no, that's, oh, goodness sake. The key I've bound it to is a little awkward because it's right next to the thingy key. So, yeah, I'm a professional. Don't try this at home. Also, I hope Mawo doesn't manage to kill himself very quickly, otherwise this is going to be a very short segment. But, yeah, here we go. Bit of momentum, so we can go bloop, and do very tight turns indeed. So, the key, I mean, it used to just basically stop you dead very quickly, but these days it does function as a handbrake, and it will basically, I mean, it can stop one of the tracks while you turn another track, and that can make you turn very sharply. So that's going to have a lot of use to people. The other thing that's different, that's a kind of combination between the tanks and the maps themselves, is that momentum is now very much a thing, and power to weight ratio is now going to be more important, especially for the lighter tanks. And you can see this is a previously inaccessible area of the map, pretty much. And the other thing that's going to matter is the maximum, the slope angle of attack. Now, momentum is kind of self-explanatory. Your tanks don't just stop dead anymore. They will have a little bit of travel left in them. So if I take my hand off the power, for instance, that's momentum that's carrying me forward. I actually did a little flip there. So that's going to be something that you're really going to have to pay attention to, especially in the faster tanks, the tanks with more power to weight. The fact that you can, you know, much has been made over of the fact that you can now flip tanks over, and of course that's a new feature as well. But this is definitely the biggest update since just the introduction of sort of gravity and being able to fall off things, and that's going way back now in the day. But momentum is going to matter to a lot of tanks, but especially the faster tanks. The ability to get up to places like this, that's where the power to weight ratio and the mass of the tank, the tracks actually feel like they have grip now. Like, traction is a thing that matters, and that's gonna mean that a lot of areas of maps that were previously inaccessible are now going to be accessible. And obviously for things like Himmelsdorf or the kind of the flatter maps or the city maps, that's not going to matter so much. But some of the maps, this is going to mean either really major changes in the map metas, or it's going to mean that the maps themselves have to be rebalanced quite dramatically, because I can foresee a lot of, like, people are going to be using their old tactics when this comes along, and it's going to make things, it's going to change how things work on maps an awful lot. So I'm going to try, should we try something a little bit slow? The T54, and we can see it working with the new suspension as well, of the, you know, the HD model suspension. But yeah, so I can, I can foresee a lot of balance changes having to happen because of this, but at the same time, I think this is a really positive thing. Let's try El Haloof now. So, yeah, this is just an initial physics test, and there are going to be, like, this is not going to be close to the final form, I'm sure. But what there is right now, it feels pretty solid. And I'm really looking forward to the idea that this is... I mean, it's going to change how battles play, but it's also going to change how individual tanks play, because there are some tanks that, like ages ago, and this is going back aeons and aeons at this point, but there was, for a while, the promise from Wargaming that Churchills would have their kind of historical go-anywhere capability, and that was never really implemented. But this is now going to be a thing, and obviously there's going to be a lot of kind of soft stat tweaking, because I imagine there are now some new soft stats on the vehicles. I imagine vehicle traction is going to be a thing. The max slope attack angle is going to be important. Power to weight ratio, like I've said, is going to be very important. Like the char de chasseur, or the chasseur de char. I keep saying char de chasseur, but it's not. It's the chasseur de char. That has an insane power to weight ratio, and that is going to be able to go a lot of places on a lot of different maps that even some light tanks are going to struggle. So there we go. That was a little bit of airtime. That took off a bunch of health. So you're going to have to be careful. I mean, you already have to be careful about dropping down things, but you are going to have to be even more careful now. And there are some sillinesses, like you saw me kind of catapult over and sort of catapult down that hill on cliff, and that didn't really have a massive effect on my tank. So I think vehicle mass is going to be important as well, but it's gonna really change how the game plays. But I think it's going to be a positive change. Like, even just the half hour I spent on the test server mucking around in the training room has given me a really positive impression of this. Like, I am actually quite excited about it. Just watching those preview videos really didn't tell me that much about how this was going to feel playing the tanks, and that's why I wanted to hang on to actually get some in-game experience. And I am like, this is super good. I'm really enjoying this. Like, when I was talking about maps are going to have to change, or the meta is going to change, like, I will give you a very specific example for this particular map. And it might change in future, but this is a thing that exists right now. And I'm probably not going to be able to get up there in T54, but I did spot this potential route. Now, you hopefully are familiar with this particular route in... oh, frame rate dirt there. On El Haloof, and the fact that you can... by the way, momentum matters. Like, Derpenberg is going to claim so many more victims now, because if you're close to an edge here and you stop, your tank it keeps travelling. So... That's the thing. That's going to be a readjustment for everybody. You're going to have to be even more careful on the edges of things now. But this area here is where I mean. And there are some of the light tanks and even some of the medium tanks that previously this has just been inaccessible. But this is now going to be a viable route, potentially, to go and kill enemy artillery. Now, I don't quite have the power to weight ratio to do it, and I don't have enough space to do a run-up to get up here, because, like I said, momentum now matters. But for some tanks, this is going to be now a viable route to go and kill enemy artillery. So, yeah, it's going to be things like that. There's going to be a lot of different specific examples. And, yeah, can I just say again, I just think this is a really good... Like, this is going to be... I'm excited about this. This is going to be fun. And it will have, I'm sure, potential problems and pitfalls that I haven't thought of yet, but... this is without a doubt one of the biggest changes that we're looking at in the game for a while. And I know there's other things like Havoc physics coming along as well at some point in the future, but that's going to be much more cosmetic. This is going to be a fundamental change to how the game that it looks and feels and plays. And I know some people were worried that it was going to be overdone to the extent that War Thunder does it, and War Thunder is kind of a mixed bag, because in War Thunder, especially in, I mean, arcade is arcade. It is what it is. But in the realistic, and most especially of course in sim, tanks, and especially the bigger, heavier tanks, they more feel like bigger, heavier tanks when you're driving them. Now, we'll try a bit of momentum here, and that should actually be able to carry me up there. But the cost is, like I say, it's mixed. The faster tanks, even some of the slower tanks, you can end up sliding around. Like it feels like you're playing dodgems rather than playing with tanks. Now apparently that bit of bump in the ground's enough to, like, how maps play is gonna, like, they're gonna spend longer, I suspect, actually balancing maps than they are on tweaking and refining the physics when it comes to it. But this is all, like I said, it's very preliminary. But anyway, yeah, it doesn't have that same kind of race car slide that, like, it's not like you're playing Ridge Racer or something, because I have that problem with War Thunder, and the fact that you can bump into a house at 5 miles an hour and suddenly one of your crew members gets knocked out, you know, that isn't going to be a thing. And they still don't, like, it's improved. It more feels like you're driving something with a bit of mass to it, especially when you get those like this kind of thing, like changing direction. It used to be fairly instant, but now you've got that I really like that feeling that your tracks are having to dig in and you're having to get traction to change direction. Like that's inconsequential in game terms, but it just feels really nice. So yeah, I think this is a pretty positive change. I think there's just the big terrain here is, like, I'm not quite getting my point across with momentum, but maybe if I try it with one of the other slopes. I'm trying to think what's another good bit of hill to do. There was a bit of hill along here that you could get up that you can get up before. But yeah, this is it's going to be a big change, but it's going to be a positive change, I feel. And some people won't like it. There's always inevitably that when any kind of physics at all first came in, and suddenly your T50-2 couldn't drive around like it was on rails anymore. Like, you can go and look up old replays, T50-2s on Himmelsdorf, for instance. There's one that particularly sticks in the mind that I saw, and it was somebody literally driving around like they were on rails. Like, there was no sliding, there was no, like, you couldn't get the tank off the ground. And it used to be the case that, like, the bridge on Mountain Pass, for example, you couldn't fall off that, and you could exploit the hell out of that. Now, I saw somebody drive up either Malwo or Tomka. Like, here we go. This is actually relatively simple now. And like Mountain Pass, you could just about get a tank if you started on the south side. You could just get a tank up to the kind of the ruins area and use that. And then they changed it so you couldn't anymore. But now you're going to be able to once again. And there's other bits on other maps I can think of that are just, yeah, they're either going to be heavily rebalanced, or they're just going to change how the game plays entirely. And I'm really interested to see what kind of further developments they apply to this, because it's fantastic. It really is. I think we'll go to a different map now, but we're going to finish it off with well, you'll see. So yeah, she'll be back in just a second. So we're on Westfield, and yeah, you know what that means. But before we get to the grand finale, there's one last thing I really want to point out, and that is that, and again, this is more a function of it's going to be a function of the maps rather than the tanks. But following on from momentum, it used to matter a bit less for the purposes of like your stated top speed. You could go over that, right? And there's a set limit to how much you could go over that. But the steepness of a slope now seems to have a lot more of an effect on how far you can go over that and how fast you can go. So we're going to start off with going down a fairly steep slope, and the ELC's got a pretty decent top speed to begin with, but you'll be able to see just how I've actually picked a bad place to do this. I'm going to go over to some bumps doing that. I don't especially want to. Right, here we go. Here's a straighter selection of soap, or even a section of slope. Yes. So I'm going to avoid ramming into those guys at the bottom there, because that will probably kill me. But Let's just see how far and how fast I can go. 70, 75, 78, 80, 80, okay, not quite 90, but I did manage to top out at 90 before. So, yeah, that was quite a steep slope, and I managed to get quite fast. But if we go up and try a more shallow slope, you'll see that you don't pick up speed going down slope as you used to. So the gradient, there you go, there's the word I was looking for. The gradient of slope that you're on seems to have much more of an effect on how fast you can get your tank to go. And again, this is going to be a thing that will maybe not have a major effect, but it will have an effect on how some maps are played. So this is, we're starting off here, so we're going to maybe pick up a bit of speed, but it's fairly shallow. It's downhill, but it's fairly shallow, so we'll try this again. We'll zoom down here, 67, 66, 67, 68. So we're picking up a little bit of speed, but we're not getting anything like as much speed as we were. And we'll see if we can pick up a bit more going down here. But it's nothing like the 90 that we were getting. And then we go down a bit of a steeper gradient. And again, we're approaching 90. We'll just do a little whoop, handbrake stop there. You will have to be a lot more careful about, I mean, it's a key that's been in the game for ages, but you'll have to be careful about the application of it and how you use it in combination with your direction keys. Because if you just purely slam on the handbrake and you're not travelling in an exactly straight line, or if you're not on an exactly straight surface, I guess I mean, you might not necessarily stop in a straight line. See, I actually turned slightly there. The other thing you'll be able to do, and this is deliberate now, is that when you slam on the handbrake like that, your tank will actually rock, and that will actually, in effect, give you more gun depression. Oh, that's actually, I managed to slide there. Let's see if I can get this demonstrated. But this is, it's not just that this is going to be new in terms of the mechanics that are in, but it's going to, there you go, so you get extra gun depression. It's giving almost players more tools to work with as well. There's going to be more things to take into consideration, but there are going to be more techniques that you can exploit. And it's going to open up, for some vehicles anyway, I mean, I'm thinking specifically like Russian and Chinese mediums, for example. It's going to give you things that you're not going to use all the time, but there will be situations when actually being able to come to a sudden halt and get that extra tiny, you know, extra couple of degrees of gun depression will actually help you a lot. But there are going to be times when, in faster tanks, when you're going to have to be very careful about how you're turning, how you're applying the handbrake. So, grand finale. I'll actually just tell them what we're going to do, what I'm going to do. We're actually all on TeamSpeak at the moment, but I've got that muted just so I can witter away to myself. And yeah, these guys, well, they're probably just, you know, busily insulting me. It's what you're used to in the Cert clans, you know. You don't command a Cert clan without a certain amount of disrespect from your clan members, as Billy Warren is well aware. But yeah, I don't know if they're setting up by down the bridge, but anyway, yeah, the bridge jump is not a thing I've been able to do very often. And it used to be you'd start off back here, or even on that hill, you could pick up a whole bunch of momentum, and you would keep that momentum. But this is a solid 65 here. I'm not really going any faster than my speed limit, and this again ties into that gradient thing. Like, the gradient does matter, and the power to weight ratio does matter. So on some tanks it's going to be an overall reduction in speed, but look at this. Whee! This feels way easier than it used to. Whoa, that almost flipped me over. But I'll be interested to see if things like the AMX-40, like the AMX-40, it's an outside thing that it can do that, but it still can't. Whoa! Oh, I didn't quite stop in time, but whee! It landed on my feet. Oh, I mean, it's going to lead to some real silliness at first as people get used to it, but I think I foresee good things for World of Tanks in the future. Like, this is going to be a major positive to the game, unless they significantly screw up or change what is here right now. I'm giving this a big thumbs up, and I realise it's only a physics test, and I realise it's subject to change, but this has given me something to really look forward to in World of Tanks. And, you know, new tanks is nice, HD tanks are nice, eventual HD maps are nice, physics is nice, but this is going to be, it's going to be such a significant change to the way the game is played that it's not going to be quite a totally fresh start, but it's going to be different enough that I'm hesitating about using the phrase "it's a whole new game," even ironically, but yeah, I think it's going to be a significant enough difference that it's going to be one of those kind of watershed moments that these games sometimes have, and I think confident enough in saying that it is that it's going to be a big thing. And it's going to be silly, and it's going to be glorious. So there you go. That is the physics test that you can go and download the physics test server right now, and I thoroughly recommend it because merely watching videos about it doesn't really I've not even tried to say about how it feels driving these, and it's quite difficult to do, so I highly recommend going and doing it. It's because it's a limited test, there's only a limited selection of vehicles to choose from, but that means on the positive side it's a much smaller client to download, so even if you don't normally go and get these because of the client size or whatever, I would recommend going this one. It's like a quarter, not even that, no, it is a quarter. The normal client download size is something like 8 point something gigabytes, so this is only 2 point something gigabytes. So yeah, big thumbs up to this. Go and try it out. I highly recommend it. You can have a lot of fun. You can even play an SU5 if you want to. I really don't know why this is in the test, but you can see how it feels with slower heavy tanks or medium tanks. There's even a couple of tier 1s to muck around with. And of course, I haven't even played any battles yet. I've just been doing the mucking around in training room, so I'm probably going to be spending a good chunk of the rest of the day playing battles as well when I'm not editing this together. So yeah, big thumbs up. I am really quite positive about this. I have enjoyed even just being in training rooms, and I foresee this being a positive thing for World of Tanks overall. So yeah, if you have any comments below about your own experiences on the test server, you can stick them in the comments section. You can hit the like button, you can subscribe to my channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.